are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano,
host of Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your first listen every day. And remember, Locked On Rays is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays, and you can email us lockedonrays@gmail.com. Well, Ulises, we had promised last week that there were a couple other leftover mailbag questions that we wanted to answer, and we will get to those. Of course, somebody named Wander Franco had some news to impart on us, and there were some other things going on. So we will get to those mailbag questions from Ty, Austin, Nick, and Daniel. But first, today is kind of an important day.
Yeah.
Tuesday evening. It is the deadline to tender contracts. Originally, it was supposed to be Thursday at 8 p.m., but with the impending CBA expiration and probably lockout, MLB and the union decided to move things up. So the Rays will be busy as they have 15 players to decide on whether to tender or non-tender a contract. And again, just for people that aren't sure what that means, we're not talking about chicken tenders here, although it'd be nice to have some. Where's PDQ or Chick-fil-A when we need them?
That's right.
To tender a contract to a player is to agree to give a contract for the upcoming season to a player who is under club control and go through arbitration. If you non-tender a player, that means that player is immediately made eligible for free agency and can sign elsewhere. So Ulises, if you were on the Rays and the Rays decide to non-tender you, you could go and sign with the Diamondbacks if you so choose. So there are 15 players that need to be tendered or non-tender. I'll just run through the list right here, and we'll go and have a little fun with this. So there's Matt Whistler, Manny Margot, Tyler Glasnow, Joey Wendell, Gman Choi, Ryan Yarbrough, Yanni Chirinos, Yandy Diaz, Austin Meadows, Andrew Kittredge, Jalen Beeks, Francisco Mejia, Jeffrey Springs, Brett Phillips, and Nick Anderson. Did I get all of those correct?
You did.
Okay.
And so why don't we play a game? Are you a horror, scary film guy, by the way?
Not particularly.
So you never saw the Saw movies?
I saw one or two. Yeah. But I didn't. I'm not a horror film buff or anything like that. I like suspenseful shows like Dexter and so forth, but I'm not like, oh, I've got to watch. Scary movie comes out, I'm most likely not going to watch that thing.
Well, Saw had that little, motto of like, let's play a game. Well, let's play a game. I remember that, yeah. Let's play a game, Kevin.
Okay.
It's called To Tender or Not Tender.
Okay.
Are you ready to play?
Of course.
So it's a very easy game. I'm going to give you 5 names, and you're going to give me the likelihood in percentages that those players are going to be tendered a contract. So, for example, if you think X player is going to get definitely a contract, you would say 100%. If you think that they're definitely not getting a tender, then you put 0%.
Okay.
No chicken tenders, 0%. Definitely chicken tenders, 100%.
Love it.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, let's play to tender or not to tender. Name number 1. Manuel Margot.
Manny Margot, I will say there is a 90% chance he is tendered a contract.
Fair. I agree with that.
Okay.
I agree with that. Number 2, Brett Airplane Phillips.
I would say there's an 80% chance that he is tendered a contract.
Number 3, these get tougher, people.
Okay.
Ryan Yarbrough.
Oh my gosh. You need innings.
He
throws innings. I'm going to say
he makes the defense work.
I am going to say there is a 80% chance he is tendered a contract.
Surprised me there.
You thought it was going to be less.
I thought you were going to go like 60% because I think that's what I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, 60%. Number 4. This man won't be available till like All-Star game of 2022. Nick Anderson.
100% chance he is tendered a
100%.
contract.
You have no qualms about this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. And number 5. Gman Choi. Gman Choi. Gman Choi. What do you say, Kevin, for Gman Choi?
The percentage chance that he is tendered a contract is 0.1%.
Oh, that confident. No chicken tenders.
I do not think he is going to be tendered a contract. I think he is going to be let go, washed away. I'm sorry, Choi boys. I'm sorry, Gman Choi fan club, but it's time to move on. I think it's time to move on. And the Rays sort of implicated that when they didn't want to pay him last year. And what's he expected to make this season? In arbitration, $3.5 million. You're going to pay a part-time player $3.5 million, one that just turned 30 and can't stay healthy,
and could only be platoon, really,
and wasn't all that productive this past season.
Only against righties, really. Only against righties. We went through it on our player review. I don't think I'm as confident as you. I think I'll put 2%. 2% that he's tendered a contract. I just don't see it either, man. I really don't think so. And if you're able to non-tender, or at least, DFA a guy like an all-star like Corey Dickerson, CJ Cron with the 30 bombs, Hunter Renfroe. I mean, well, you have to DFA him, but I don't think it would be a big shock, for a guy with G-Man's production to not be tendered a contract.
And at some point, we have to look at the reality of, when are you going to give an opportunity to Josh Lowe? When are you going to give an opportunity to Vidal Brujan? When are you going to give more opportunities to Taylor Walls? And who, if the Rays do non-tender Gman Choi and wash him away from the organization, so to speak, who is that left-handed first baseman?
Oh, me. I got this. I know this.
Ulysses, who is it?
I got 2 options, and they're the options that Locked On Rays have pushed forward this whole offseason. Either Brandon Lau becomes a first baseman, or you teach Austin Meadows how to pick it at first. Those are the 2 easy ones. If you do it Meadows, then you open up that corner outfield spot for Josh Lowe to get acclimated to the major leagues before he makes a push to center field. And if you choose to do Lau, well, then you open a middle infield spot for Vidal Brujan.
Or Taylor Walls.
Or Taylor Walls.
Yeah.
So those would be the in-house, moves. Now, can you go out there and get a righty smasher from the left side? I think so. But how much is that going to cost you?
How much is Matt Olson going to cost?
There you go.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. But I just, when you talk about Gman Choi, I think for the last 2 off seasons, we've said, he's gone out of the team, and he's surprised us every single time. So could he surprise us and stay with the team? Yeah, he could. But I just don't think so. I don't think he will.
And you know what? It's not like you get into a pinch. It's not like you can't play Yandy Diaz against some righties.
No.
He can hold his own against right-handed pitchers. Now, he might not have the power potential that Gman Choi would from the left side, but it's not like the numbers are so far off. And I just don't think the Rays are going to want to pay that to Gman Choi. He's at a 758 OPS and 741 OPS the last couple seasons. He's just shown an inability to stay healthy, the lower body injuries. And I'm not going to body shame or make fun of his. He's just a bigger guy, and I feel like he's just going to break down over time. So I am really curious to see how they maneuver things, because look, you look at the 40-man roster, and at some point you got to, and maybe it's not just Gman Choi. Like, there's other moves in the pipeline too after that. Like, I would not be surprised. We mentioned 3 names there.
Yeah.
You might have to create some more room, and that might mean letting go of Brett Phillips. It might mean trading Kevin Kiermaier. It might mean, tendering a contract to Manny Margot and then trading him somewhere else.
It's the C word. Consolidate.
Yes.
You got to consolidate, man. And so I wouldn't be surprised for a Joey Wendell to be traded.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to, like you said, you got to make room for Josh Lowe. You got to make room for Taylor Walsh. You got to make room for Vidal Brujan. And if you don't make room for them, well, then they have to be traded.
Yeah.
Because they're just going to be stashed at AAA forever. That's not how
Right.
it works. So get ready to see some moves. But yeah, this deadline, it'll be really interesting because I think a lot of guys that have been wearing race shirts for a long time might not be doing that.
2 questions. One, is this a fair statement that everybody, all 15 names, will be tendered a contract except for one, that is Gman Choi? So the Rays will tender contracts to 14 guys and then let go of Gman Choi? Or do you think they're going to let go of 1 or 2 or maybe more others?
I could see another one.
Okay. So you're going to say like 12, 13.
Yeah.
And you think the most other likely guy is Yarbrough?
Nick Anderson.
Nick Anderson. Okay.
I think Nick Anderson. I don't like what we saw from Nick Anderson at all.
Okay.
Like he was just, and not because like he wouldn't be a good B squad kind of guy in the bullpen, but because I think he would be. But the problem is that the disparity between the production when he was the elite guy in 19 and 20 to what he just showed up in 21 is so big. Can't you just find somebody off the heap?
Right.
That could give you better than what he can give you as a B squad guy. Can you really think that a reliever with the injuries that he's had going to go back up to, I mean, volatility is the middle name of relievers. I don't think you can expect, again, an upside in production from Nick Anderson. So why tender a contract?
Couldn't they have already gotten rid of him though?
They could have,
like Cody Reed and Oliver Drake. I feel like and why go through the rehab and the surgery, and maybe that's just
we're going to help you.
Okay,
the rehab portion, because I think it's like an unspoken rule of like not letting a guy go through.
And here's the other thing: it's not like he's going to make $4 million this upcoming season. $900,000 is what he's projected to make on MLB trade rumors. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, out of all these guys, which guy eventually gets the most money in arbitration? Is it Margot? Is it Glasnow? Is it Wendell? Is it Yarbrough? Is it somebody else? Is it Meadows?
Wendell's going to get a nice payday.
Yeah.
Wendell and Meadows, I think, would be the 2 highest paid there. So if you want to go by the money figure, those 2, but there's no way that they're not chicken tendered. No way.
Very good.
They're going to Chick-fil-A, baby.
Yeah. Well, the Rays, I mean, it was a lot fewer players last year, but they did tender contracts to all 7 of their arbitration-eligible players in 2020. BetOnline has you covered all holiday season long. More props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number 1 spot for all the sports action throughout the holiday season. So head over to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus with the promo code LOCKEDON. That is LOCKEDON to receive that bonus. BetOnline, it's the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports.
Kevin, I got an early trivia question for you. Can you tell me a simple way to get all the entertainment that you love without the hassle?
DirecTV? Would that be the correct answer? What is DirecTV?
DirecTV Stream is
DirecTV
Stream is the correct way because it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before. Just like Wander Franco sending a $182 million guaranteed contract, never before, right? Well, this means that if you get DirecTV Stream, you can watch your favorite sports, your favorite movies, your shows, all in one single place. And the best part, there's no annual contract. I hate annual contracts. Kevin Weiss hates annual contracts. Everybody hates them. So stop waiting and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com.
Very good. Okay. We will finally get to the handful of mailbag questions that we have been waiting to answer. There's just been so much news on the table. Thankfully, there's been some baseball news. We may get to a point where there's no news whatsoever. It's just talking about lockouts and negotiations. That might not be a fun time, but
I don't want to shame other MLB Locked On MLB hosts. But sometimes I'm so lucky to be a Rays fan and doing this podcast because other teams out there, guys, woof, they have nothing to cover. Nothing. Tell me what the hell the Cubs are doing right now. What do you mean? You know who has the toughest job right now on MLB, on the Locked On MLB? It's the Cubs.
Yeah.
What does he get up there? Oh, let's talk about Bill Murray being a Cubs fan.
Right.
Let's relive 2016.
Yeah.
It's tough.
At least with the Rockies, you can just say, we're so bad. We suck. This is why we suck. We're going to continue to suck. But with the Cubs, it's just like apathy right now.
Yeah.
And depression.
Indifference, which is so horrible.
Like, they're not going to make any significant moves whatsoever.
No.
And I don't think their farm system is like, oh, we got so many great players on the come up. We got Wander Franco 2.0. It's just like, all right, we're holding forward. We're going to be, 72-90 or whatever. Like, it's not going to be a fun time if you're a Cubs fan at all whatsoever.
But you know what's fun? Mailbag questions.
Yes, mailbag questions. Okay, this one from Austin Holloway. He says, here's a fun one. Both of you have the power to get any past or present Rays player on the podcast. Who do you choose? And what's one question / topic you'd want to discuss?
Great question, Austin. Fantastic question. This took me a while. I'm going to go with BJ Upton.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to go with BJ Upton because during the postseason, he was very transparent on the stadium issues and Stu and all that. And so I love the honesty aspect of that. So that's who I would like to have on the show. Somebody who's going to just give it to me straight. No BS.
Right.
Here's that. But I wouldn't ask him about Stu. I wouldn't ask him about the stadium situation. Enough of that.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about that. You know what I want to hear about? What I've always wanted to hear about? Tell me about Pat Burrell.
That's a good one.
Tell me all of the things that made Pat Burrell a clubhouse cancer. Tell me the fights that he had with Carl Crawford. Tell me the things that Joe Madden and Pat Burrell yelled each other about. I don't know. Tell me.
Yeah.
Tell me, BJ, what happened in that clubhouse? I want to know.
That's good. And peek behind the curtain, we have reached out to BJ Upton, but he didn't respond to us. So
no, he did not.
We might have to try another outlet, or maybe, not a lot going on. Maybe he will have some free time to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And also, it's funny because, well, if you're a fan out there, if you're a listener out there, feel free to DM and reach out to BJ Upton and, hey, you should be on the Locked On Rays podcast. Please do that on our behalf.
Locked On Rays, Locked On Rays Nation. Just
send him,
BJ.
Message, spam him until he comes on the show. That's the way to do it.
Yes.
My guy, and yours is a very good choice. Mine's a little kind of a flip on it.
Okay.
Your boy, your favorite Rays player of all time, Evan Longoria.
Okay, of course.
He is very transparent. He is very open-minded. He is very thoughtful. And I also want to know who the clubhouse cancers were during his time with the Rays. And particularly, I want to know what went wrong between him and BJ Upton and James Shields, because there is a history between Longo and those two other guys where he sort of alluded to the fact of those guys were on the Devil Rays teams or the Rays teams before they were good, and they couldn't get past some sort of attitude, not wanting to get on board and play ball, so to speak. So I'd love to, share a beer or share an interview with Longo and ask him some of those questions, and probably throw in a Pat Burrell, just clubhouse cancer. I just want to know about clubhouse cancers and crazy stories like that.
I know it feels very TMZ, but I want the details. I want the gossip. Yeah. Tell me the gossip about, the clubhouse cancers, but really, let me know about Pat Burrell, though.
Yeah.
Give me all the little details. Like,
DM BJ Upton right now, please.
Everybody.
We need him on the show.
We need him on the show. I need to know about Pat Burrell.
Yeah.
I need to.
Okay. This next one from Nick Eater, he says, what is your opinion on Kevin Cash winning the Manager of the Year award over Scott Servais from the Mariners and what he did with that team. Wow, he's talking about Servais and the Mariners. Also, Kittredge was our best reliever this year. Need a couple more like him. Hopefully, he can continue this form into next year.
Yes, I agreed on Kittredge, and I agreed that we need more arms.
And what I'm saying, by the way, speaking of relievers and Kittredge, if you non-tender Nick Anderson, I expect the Rays to go out and sign Raisel Iglesias. That better be the trade-off. That's what we're talking about here.
There you go, baby.
Okay.
Yes. The first part, though, if there was one guy that I wouldn't have been upset to have taken that Manager of the Year award would be Scott Servais, because, man, that is what he did to get them to the last day. I mean, Ty France, for God's sakes, was the only guy that was giving them any sort of power production in that lineup. I mean, who was the rotation?
Yeah, it was. I mean, they had
it was a shift. It was incredible what he was able to do there, and with teams that were supposed to be good, Oakland, and teams that got good, the Astros, and they were able to do that. I feel if there was one guy that I wouldn't have been upset and had an actual legit path to winning the Manager of the Year award, Scott Servais is definitely one of the guys, if not the only guy in the American League.
Okay, so if you had a vote,
yeah,
and you could put it down on paper, would you have gone with Kevin Cash or Scott Servais?
Kevin Cash, because I know the more in-depth intricacies of what Kevin Cash had to go through, aka injuries, the AL East, the 100 wins, all of the things. But I would have thought about it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been a Kevin Cash automatic vote for me. No.
Well, it's funny because, and of course, what Kevin Cash did this year was amazing. The fact that, I mean, so many out there, the Rays are going to finish 3rd, 4th in the division. You don't have.
Oh, you lost
Snell. You lost Morton. Oh, Glass now? You lose him?
Yeah. No, it was incredible.
Yeah. And how many rookies are you playing this year? And the guys that are throwing the most innings on your team are going to have ERAs above 5.
Right.
Like all that combined. Oh, and you're playing in a division with 4 teams. I mean, that win 90+ games.
You could have your A bullpen is all in the IL right now.
Yeah.
So you're just bringing guys like Adam Conley and Ryan Sheriff to cover important things, important innings. Oh, you're using Kittredge. However, it was impressive. But Scott Servais, that was incredible.
Okay, so if we're going to say what Scott Servais did this year was incredible, don't we have to also say what Kevin Cash did in 2018 was incredible, getting that Rays team to win 90 games where Matt Duffy, got the most plate appearances of anybody, and you're like, Jake Bowers was supposed to be and expected to be one of your more productive players. Like there was nobody offensively on that team.
Was so fun. That team was a college team.
Yeah.
It was a college team playing MLB type baseball, 90 wins. He got them to be playoff eligible within 2 weeks of the season ending. That was remarkable, especially because of the horrible start that they had in April in 2018. So yes, of course, I don't think one takes from the other. I don't think by saying Scott Servais was worthy of the 2021 Manager of the Year doesn't mean that Kevin Cash isn't.
Yeah.
I believe both things to be true. I think Scott maybe should have gotten a little bit more love.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is, I would have to double check this, but I looked it up. I think the last time that a manager won in the American League, won Manager of the Year and didn't make the playoffs was 2004. Buck Showalter and the Rangers. So if you're going to win Manager of the Year, you win 88 games, 92 games. What you better wild card division. You better make the playoffs to win that award, at least in the American League. And also credit to Scott Servais. Look, the team wasn't all that great on paper, and there were some. They did surprisingly. It was kind of how well they did in extra inning games. I would be curious to see if they can or could keep that up without the runner on second rule. Like how much of that is a fluke, because their run differential was terrible this year, and they still found a way to win games, which maybe that is a credit to Scott Servais that he got that much out of the team. And
the right moment. Yeah.
And also for keeping the team afloat when that controversial Kendall Graveman trade was made, because there was a lot of upset players and a lot of upset fans. Now, I'll also say this again, The Athletics weren't as good as expected, weren't great at all. You also had some bottom feeders in there, the Rangers and the Angels. So it's not like the toughest division of all time. And I looked at their schedule a little bit. Last thing on this is just they had a lot of games against a lot of bad teams. They had a lot of games against Arizona, Baltimore, Cleveland, Colorado,
that's
Kansas City.
Services,
I know. I'm just saying you can rack up a lot of wins when you have 6 games against Arizona and 4 games against Colorado and 7 against Kansas City and 6 versus Minnesota and 6 versus Detroit. I'm just saying.
Don't talk to me about Central Divisions. Those were the same games that Kevin Cash had to play.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. All right. Well, no, I mean, credit to Scott Servais and what he did. I just think that Cash was,
I think so too. I think Scott, if he won it, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Right. Okay. This next question, this is a fun one from Ty McCann. Does Shane Baz have a good chance to be a top 3 Rookie of the Year finalist in 2022? If so, what would it take for him to get there?
Well, I think he's definitely has the talent to do that.
Yes.
And I think Bobby Witt Jr. and Adley Rutschman probably have something that they want to say about that.
Yes.
Look, I looked at Shane McClanahan's numbers. Mm-hmm. If those numbers can't get you a nomination or a finalist, it's gonna be rough for Shane Baz, because that means that let's say that he has to do better than Shane McClanahan. That means more than 120 innings pitched. Mm-hmm. That means a sub 3.40 ERA. That means around a 3 WAR, according to Fangraphs. Can he do it? Yes.
Yeah.
It's going to be hella tough to do that, especially knowing full well that Shane Baz is going to probably be used just like Shane McClanahan was.
Babied in some respect.
In some respect with the innings. So can he get to 120 innings pitched? Maybe. Yeah, I think so. I hope so. But then again, the strength of schedule, being in against the Red Sox and the Jays and the Yankees all the time in boom boxes in the division, it's going to be tough to do that in your rookie year. Does he have the potential? Yes, but he's going to have to be really good.
It's just the Rookie of the Year. It's such a position player, hitter oriented award. I mean, we look back at it. There's not many in the National League or American League. Not a lot of starting pitchers that have won that thing. I think to get top three votes, it's sort of what you said, Ulises. It's got to be 150 plus innings. It's got to be sub 3.5 ERA or 3.5 ERA. You got to have double digit wins. I know wins aren't, they're not,
it's but it's for the voters.
Exactly. Though. And here's the other thing. You mentioned it. Adley Rutschman, Bobby Witt Jr. There's also a guy named Spencer Torkelson. There's also a guy named Julio Rodriguez. Like there's going to be some competition. Even Riley Green with the Tigers could throw up a fight. So, I mean, you got to put up numbers similar to what Luis Garcia and Shane McClanahan did. Maybe, balance those out, divide those numbers together, and that's what you got. Yeah. And I don't know if Shane Baz will get enough of those opportunities in his true rookie year. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. I just wonder, you add Corey Kluber, if you're going to bring back Yarbrough, they might want to be careful with him. I'm just saying.
I want to ask you this question. What, just kind of like tender or not tender, given the percentage of likelihood that Shane Baz starts in the opening day roster for 2022?
Ooh, opening day roster. I'm going to say 90%.
Holy blank, people. Yeah. That is confident. I don't have him at that. I have 90% confident that he's starting at AAA.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we've got that.
So you think him before Luis Patino? Or Patino's going to be at AAA too?
No, I feel like Patino starts opening day roster.
Wow.
And then Shane Baz. I just think depending on the CBA, because then if the manipulation isn't there anymore, then I think he does start with opening day roster. But if that doesn't, change, then they're like, nope, give us more half of the year. We start on maybe late April, maybe early May. So if they do that, if they do late April, early May, then getting to 120 innings pitched is going to be real tough.
Look, I know the Rays have never cared about optics, but the fact that you call this guy up and he basically becomes your number 2 immediately, and now you're going to start him at AAA in 2022, I think that's
There's precedent.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember 08 and the fantastic rookie sensation David Price? Where did he start in 2009? He started in AAA. Then they called him up, but he started in AAA in 09.
Darn Rays, you got to ruin the fun for all of us. Okay, this last mailbag question from Daniel Perez. And again, send us mailbag questions periodically anytime you want, because we do collect them, collate them, and then answer them on a future show. This one, who do you see having the better career? Tatis Jr., Franco, Vlad, Guerrero Jr., or Ronald Acuña?
Oh, man. Those are all such good.
I guess, are we just going to use WAR? Like, who finishes with the highest career WAR? Is that the fairest metric to use?
Yeah. And, I think you're missing one guy there, Daniel, Juan Soto.
Juan Soto might actually be the guy that comes out on top in all of this when you consider his age, how much WAR he's already accumulated, and the bat, and the fact that he made his debut at 19 and had a smashing debut at 19.
It's tough. So he could be the top. If you go by WAR, I think it can be Vladdy because of the defensive purposes there. So I think Vladdy takes the hit there.
Mm-hmm.
Second one to take a hit, Tatis.
Yeah.
Tatis takes the hit on the defensive side of him. Then you're left with Franco, Acuña, and Soto.
Yeah.
I think Franco is going to be surprising people with his defensive work. I really think he's going to be good. I think he's going to get better because he wasn't terrible at shortstop at 20 years old.
Right.
I think he's going to be really good. Then you put Acuña, who is really good in the outfield. Soto is not bad, but he's no Acuña.
It's all about Soto's bat. It's the fact that he can pretty much any year put up an on-base percentage of 450, 460.
That's
and
unreal.
He's 22 years old, 23 years old right now.
I think that's my podium. I think it's Soto, Acuña, Franco. Those three guys are going head to head. I mean, Acuña, for God's sakes, in his first full season, almost became a 40-40 guy when only 4 guys have ever done that.
Right.
That's stupid.
Here's my issue with Acuña is the fact of how he recovers or comes back from that ACL injury, how that affects him. That. Yeah. And that's the thing, also a legitimate question for Tatis. How much of that shoulder issue is going to be a lingering thing where you have to move from short to right field, and the defense was never there really as it is? Look, I don't know if I've necessarily a top 3. I agree with you, Vlad Guerrero, the defense, the fact that he's first base. And I think that look, Vlad's going to be and is already a great player, but I think this might be his career year just because of the fact of TD ballpark and
stadiums.
Yeah, essentially, yes. I think 1-2 is Soto Wander. And I wouldn't be, and I know this might be homerism, but I'd even be willing to flip that. I could see Wander being 1 and then Soto being 2.
Daniel, let's have this question. Throw it to us.
Yeah.
November 29th of 2022.
There we go.
Come back to us in 365 days and see if our answers changes, because we need to see a little bit more of Franco. What we saw Franco was exceptional, but let us see a whole season.
Yeah.
Let us see a whole season, not just 70 games. Let me see a whole 162 and see what he can do in the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of the season.
And Wander put up what, 3.5 WAR in 70 games this season?
Yeah.
Okay. At 20 years old, and he won't be 21 till March. Throwing that out there, I do have the numbers for these other guys. So Tatis Jr. has accumulated 13.6 WAR at 22 years old and 331 days. Acuña, 14.9 WAR at 23 years old and 346 days. Guerrero Jr., 9.5 WAR at 22 years old, 258 days. And Juan Soto, 17.6 WAR at 23 years old and 35 days.
That's the podium. Soto, Acuña, and not to be Rays home bias, but I think Franco.
Yeah.
That's the podium.
The Rays wouldn't give him, upwards of $223 million if that wasn't the case. I'm telling you, Mookie Betts, look at his WAR each year, and I think it's going to be very similar pipeline and track.
There you go.
For Wander Franco, except from a shortstop and not a right fielder.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to think about.
Yes.
It is fun to think about. Okay, thank you again for the mailbag questions. Feel free to send those to us, lockedonrays@gmail.com, Instagram, Twitter. DM us there, and we'll put those together for a future episode. Thank you again for making the Locked On Rays podcast your first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On Bets podcast. That is free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.